Okay, hi everyone, welcome to this section of the tutorial where I'll just be talking about Blender pretty briefly. So for those of you who don't know what this tool is, it's actually a open source 3D program that I think most of us have been hopping onto. It's cross-platform, so you can use it on Windows or Mac. Yeah, so let's just dive into the UI a bit. About the stuff that we'll be mostly using. So on the right here, you have your layers editor. Kind of like you can see the items here that are in the hierarchy itself. Kind of similar to how medium is. And the bottom will be all your options for your renderers, your screen settings, and how the background color can be changed, etc. and whatnot for the tools, like camera settings also. And you hold down middle button to kind of just rotate around the viewport, and you can hit shift and middle to pan around. So you'll be able to see like my keys being used with the screencasting here, so hopefully that helps a bit. And yeah, let's just begin by scrubbing off the default cube over here by hitting X. Kind of don't really need it. We'll just be importing our files directly from the FBX exported file that they kind of gave us from Medium. So this process will just take a bit. Let's just wait in silence over here. Okay, so actually the model has imported, and you can see it's pretty small here. So most of us normally would hit the button S and kind of just use like the gizmo to just drag it out and scale it. But you can actually hit S and type in a number, like 15 for example. It's pretty big. Let's not do that very quickly. So if you hit S and you type in the number on your keyboard, like let's say 20, it'll just scale accordingly to the number itself. So either way works fine, just like giving you another option to just kind of navigate Blender. So you can see like I think the items here have imported pretty okay. The little guys, extra guys I did after the tutorial has ended, along with some rocks. So over here on the top right hand corner, you can actually see viewport shading. So just to see whether the vertex colors have worked properly, you can actually click on vertex over here, and yeah, you can immediately see like the items showing up in the viewport. But assuming if you haven't set up your render settings properly yet and you went to render, this is what you'll see. You'll see like a grayscale model. Just take the light here and kind of just shift it. So you see like no material has been assigned to it other than the default gray settings. It's okay, we'll rectify that. So what we can do here is just hit on material properties, make a new material, name it, maybe just some vertex colors. Pull up the bottom window over here and just click on shader editor. Just zoom in. So you'll see actually it has made like some shader nodes for you, and kind of don't need to do anything fancy here because you'll just be only using one extra node in this case. Hit Shift A, search for the attribute node, type in vertex colors. This is the American spelling, not the UK one, just FYI. So I'll just link it over there. So you will see like the rocks have the thing because I was selecting the rocks earlier on. Just select everything like that. Go to this little triangle here and click copy material to select it. And it just load the vertex colors. So you now see this is solid mode. You just turn it off over here just for some clarity. And this is the default EV render. I believe it defaults to EV these days, I'm not sure, but yeah, this is what you'll see if you have the thing imported properly. Just to double check, you can click on this button here, and you see like the render engine is actually Eevee. So personally, I would toggle between Eevee and Cycles every now and then, but I don't really have a strict rule about like what to use. So yeah, I just use the renderer you feel more comfortable with, or whatever renderer that's better with for the performance of the machine actually. So what we can do here now is some housekeeping. Select everything in your model, hit M, go to make a new selection. I'll just name it tank diorama or something. So you'll see over here on the top right corner, it kind of has nicely grouped your model into a separate layer over here, and they still retain the original medium individual kind of geometry over here, which is kind of neater, to work with if you wanted to modify some stuff. And over here, I normally just kind of name them like light and camera or something, so it's easier to kind of distinguish like what layer you're working on. And over here, this like little funnel kind of icon, I'll just toggle everything on, so you actually see like the options over here for you to play around with. This one is, this little kind of mouse cursor here means is to disable selection, so you can't select the geometry by accident, which is pretty handy sometimes. And this is to disable the visibility, but it still would render in Blender. So you can see like these two other options here, they relate to not rendering at all. So yeah, just play around with it and kind of familiarize yourself with how it works. So for the basic render we'll be doing, select the light here, which is already created by default. Go to area, kind of expand the size up to 15 meters. And you'll see like it's kind of wonky and janky over here. So just go to item and hit 0 on all the rotations, just to kind of even it out first. Hit G to move the light. In this case, I like to increase the power slightly, so you have kind of like a top down light kind of feeling to it, and you can just kind of roughly shift it like that first. So this is our main field light, and you can have like a secondary kind of light in the bit. So hit Shift D to duplicate, hit R and X for the axis lock over here. So what Blender actually has some pretty cool features is, some of the features that Blender has is, like if you were to move an object, you can actually lock it to the axis if you hit the middle mouse button. It kind of knows like what you want to lock to, so yeah, no worries about it. So at this stage here, we kind of have like a simple lighting setup, and you can actually change the color. Let's make it a bit more desert looking. Probably a bit more orange to this. So at this stage, you'll be wondering, hey, like, are we ready to render yet? I mean, kind of. So select the camera, press Ctrl 0. It's the 0 on, it's the 0 on your number pad, not the one on your main keyboard. So just take note of that. And you will attempt to zoom out, I guess. So for people who are wondering, like if you zoomed out and you panned around, it kind of like goes away from the camera view. Yeah, it happens. So don't worry about it. Hit Ctrl 0 again and select the lock camera tool here under your view settings. So now it actually works properly. So the thing about this is, if you were to uncheck it, you can actually just zoom in and kind of feel your viewport frame better. and you lock it so that the camera kind of just pans properly. So kind of like I'm okay with this view, so you can do like a quick test render. Hit F12. So yeah, you see like you have a basic render kind of like there for the most part. Some of the stuff I do in Blender actually I kind of like take it to Photoshop and kind of go and paint it up, but that's kind of for I guess other people to explain better than me, because I'm not exactly like the best painter myself. And I'm pretty sure like there are plenty of other like concept artists, designers who do it better. So I can kind of suggest you go look those people up for digital painting kind of like skills instead. But over here we're almost done covering this Blender thing. So let's just adjust like the background settings slightly, and you can see like you will affect the overall look and feel of it fairly quickly. So yeah, this is kind of how it looks like on Eevee, but for people with like a capable GPU renderer, right? Especially for those people with NVIDIA cards, you can actually swap to cycles. By default, I think it runs on the CPU, which is a bit slower, but at least you allow most people to run it without much problems. I prefer using the graphics card, the GPU compute, because it's just way faster for me. So you can see here, yeah, it's definitely a lot faster. And you can turn on the AI accelerated kind of denoiser if you have a RTX series cards. So it just kind of like cleans up your viewport almost instantly. Look at this. Kind of like wow, there's not much wait time anymore these days. Ding, it's done. So just to check on the settings, right? For people who might not know where it is, under preferences, go to your system and you check if you have CUDA enabled. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how this section of the tutorial is. Sorry, it's nothing fancy, but maybe I'll just explain it more in depth in a separate tutorial down the road. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for this very short tutorial about like how to sculpt in Medium and import the model into Blender for basic rendering. So yeah, see you guys in the next tutorial, and hope you enjoyed sculpting the tank. Okay, there's one part which I almost forgot to mention. So if you hit F12 to render the model, you can see under image, you can just save the image as a PNG or JPEG file, depending on, actually it just depends on whatever format you want it to save as. But yeah, that's the last part of the tutorial.